Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Mariel Novas. I am your friendly neighborhood hostess for the next 2 days, and I couldn't be more excited to guide us for this time and ensure that we not only take a lot with us and learn a lot, but also form an awesome community here of advocates. I am the Assistant Director of Partnerships and Engagement for Massachusetts with the Education Trust alongside my better half, Natasha Oshimirski. Together, we convene the Massachusetts Education Equity Partnership, which I could not be more grateful for in this very challenging time when we're all engaging in remote. MEEP has really just emerged for me as a personal home. We are a collective of advocates from across the state, all of whom focus on civil rights, social justice, and education in some way, and who come together to promote educational and racial equity and justice in our state. And I know that we are linked arm in arm with all of you across the country who similarly are doing work in your states to further equity and justice. So I was born in Santo Domingo in the Dominican Republic, and my family immigrated to Boston, Massachusetts when I was 5 years old in the early 90s. And so I went through the Boston public schools for half my life. And then at that point, I received a scholarship to attend private school outside of Boston. So my life has consisted really of understanding inequity and equity and access really, really personally and up close. For those of you who have context, I grew up in Roxbury and Jamaica Plain. Both are predominantly immigrant Black, brown communities in Boston, and was commuting for half my life outside of the city to a place called Dedham, Massachusetts, which was the complete opposite of my neighborhoods. And so really got to see changes all around me from one end of my commute to the other. Not just how houses were changing around me, how the color of people's skin was different in both neighborhoods, but really saw how my family, my friends, folks in my neighborhood were locked in and locked out of opportunity. And then would travel to notice how that was not true for my classmates where I went to school for the latter half of my life. So I was the first in my family to attend college, and upon returning back home, I just felt it in my gut that I needed to serve in my community. And so I became a teacher in the Boston Public Schools. And the rest is sort of history. The last 10 years have been written as a result. I'm an educator, I'm an advocate, I'm a community organizer, and most my doctorate at Harvard in education leadership in order to be able to come home and really shift our system and really ensure that equity is at the center. So I could not be more excited for the next 2 days. We know that virtual land is really weird. For me, I know I'm looking at this green dot on the upper right and really wishing I could see your 134 and counting faces. So what I'm going to ask is that throughout the next 2 days, you really embrace the chat. So please look on your right at the stage button and please share your thoughts, your comments, your call and response, your yeses, your whatever it is, mainly for me so that I know that you guys are hearing me, but of course for each other and to just keep the spirit alive, even though we can't all see our faces. We know that this, to put it unbelievably simply, has been a very challenging year. As I mentioned, I grew up in a community that was underserved in a lot of ways, and yet the most beautiful place to call home. We know that COVID-19 has only deepened the inequities in too many ways to count for communities like mine. The hurt has come not only through the loss in education and in learning and access in those ways, but economic, financial losses, loss of homes and shelter, food insecurity, and so much more. And so our charge as advocates is really to guard against this deepening, against the inequities becoming exacerbated in this time. And frankly, our charge is to shine light. Our charge is to shine hope, to spread it, to remind us that there is a lot to fight for and a lot to win. And so I'm excited to get to know you all. The next 2 days are really an opportunity for all of us to get sharper, better, smarter, stronger, and to do that together. So just a few tech tips before we move on. We will strive to maintain a schedule as on time as possible. And that'll be largely because Hopin will make us do so. So our sessions will be starting and ending on time. And so please make sure that you're keeping track of the agenda. If at any point you need some guidance, please refer to the reception tab on the left-hand side of your screen. Again, please share your thoughts in the stage chat on your right-hand side to make sure that we are all. Please feel free to start sharing who you are, who you're repping, what's your city, what's your organization, and what you're most excited to experience during this time. One quick note is that if it takes me a moment to respond or acknowledge a comment, please be patient with me. That is very much because there is a 10 to 15-second delay from the time that you type in a comment to the time that we can see it. Similarly, in reverse, it takes about 10 to 15 seconds from when I speak for you to hear what I have to say. So if there's ever a bit of a lull, that's what's going on there. We are recording the event and we'll be recording the breakout sessions as well. And we'll be sharing those with all registered attendees at the conclusion of the conference, if not in the days thereafter. If you need help at any point throughout this time, please email us at helpdesk@edtrust.org. And there is also a chat function for Hopin, so you can email Hopin directly at live@hopin.to. And we simply say that because we know that all of us are by now well-acquainted Zoom users. And we recognize that this is a different platform, and so it could get a little bit confusing sometimes to navigate. So please reach out to any of us, and we will also be always engaged on the chat so that if you have any questions. Now I am super excited just to share with you guys a little bit about what the Education Trust has been up to during this time of great difficulty. Like you all, we have really dedicated ourselves to figuring out how we can work together with other partners to ensure that we are shining a light directly on the issues that need to be addressed in this time, to ensure that our students of color, students from low-income backgrounds, and other historically underrepresented and marginalized youth have access to opportunity right now. And so what you see here is a suite of materials that EdTrust has released with our national partners that are designed to support state advocates and policymakers who want to center equity in the 2020-21 school year and beyond. Each of the 7 briefs that you see here focuses on an issue that we know will come up as states grapple with how to respond to the challenges posed by COVID-19. So each one includes specific policy recommendations and promising practices. So as you can see here, we have everything from expanded learning time to digital access, graduation in college and career readiness, teacher diversity and equity, which I was incredibly personally excited to see given my work in the past around expanding access for teachers of color and building out pipelines. Really importantly, we deepened our work around supporting school climates that foster students' social, emotional, and academic development, and dug deep into work surrounding the disproportionate impact of discipline practices on Black girls in our schools. And so this is more important than ever, whether our students are themselves, physically in a classroom or on a Zoom screen. Given the amount of loss, trauma, and grief that we are all experiencing, to ensure that the climate that we set up, whether it be virtually or in person, addresses and holds our youth and our educators is incredibly important. So please check that out. And of course, school funding. We know that having the resources necessary to ensure that our schools are prepared in this time is critical. And we know that because of the economic impact of COVID, a lot of our districts, a lot of our systems are experiencing deep cuts. And so please do visit our website at edtrust.org and look into this work, share it within your networks, and let's partner together. So now I am incredibly excited to introduce us to Dr. Lynn Jennings, who is our Senior Director of National and State Partnerships. One of my favorite people at EdTrust. She has been out here, you guys. She is a veteran and knows it all. And so she's coming up shortly in order to share with us a little bit about the history of this boot camp. In the past, it has been in person. We saw in the registration list a lot of you who have attended in the last few years, and we're so excited to welcome you back. So Lynn, feel free to join me on the stage, and I will be happy to. Okay, everybody, it seems that Lynn is finding her way to the stage. So we will, yes, Lynn, okay. Yes, dear Brian. Thank you so much for that shout out. There she is. Hello, Lynn Jennings.
How are you? Here I am. I made it.
I am good. I am loving the roses and flowers in the back. So I will let you take the floor and share with us a little bit about the history of our boot camp.
Will do. Thank you. Thank you. I just want to welcome everybody and thank you for coming out today. We are so grateful to have all of you join us for our virtual boot camp, especially during this time of uncertainty. When I was looking over the registered list earlier this week, I was so pleased to see so many new friends who are joining us. And I must say, I was really touched to see how many old friends are with us. So many of you were here with us for our first boot camp. That was back in 2016 in Chicago, Illinois. And it was right after the passage of the new, at that time it was new, federal law that every student succeeds at, shorthand ESSA. The law was passed under the Obama administration and it replaced No Child Left Behind. It was there in Chicago with our national partners that we wanted to have these boot camps, these early boot camps, to teach people about how the law could be used to demand that under-resourced schools get the resources that they need so that their students could succeed. We also wanted to use these meetings as a place where we could come together for a think session, an organizing session, set aside time from the busyness of our lives so that we could organize, strategize, and how we could plan together to make sure that we use the law to demand that historically marginalized students, Black students, Latino students, students with disabilities, English learners, and students from low-income backgrounds got the supports and resources that they need from a system that has denied or has tried to deny for so many years them a quality education. From Chicago, we took these boot camps on tour. We went to Baltimore, then we went to Houston. And over the past 3 years, we've hosted boot camps in New Orleans, Nashville, Charlotte, and our last one was in San Antonio. We've covered different topics from school improvement, the success and failures of implementing ESSA. We've used these times as opportunities to share with you some of our new research, tools, and resources on topics such as teacher diversity, funding inequities, school discipline, early childhood ed, and SEED, which is social, emotional, and the academic development of students. Over the years, we've learned a lot. We've supported and built strong coalitions, and we've had a lot of fun working with you while we also work hard in partnership with you. EdTrust has also grown. We now have state directors in Louisiana, Tennessee, Massachusetts, and Texas. And now we're here virtually, not by choice, but we're all here because we know that our work as equity warriors matters now more than ever. We're in the midst of fighting two pandemics, COVID and racism. We immediate harm caused by these pandemics to our children, students, teachers and educators, families and communities, as well as prepare for a strong recovery. And then better yet, what we really want to do is lay the groundwork for a restart of our school systems a restart which lays the groundwork for an equitable and fair school system. And that's largely the theme of this boot camp. We're living and dealing with the now as we prepare for what's next. So please enjoy the boot camp. I will see you later, and I'll pass it over to you, Marielle. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lynn. I really do fangirl every time I'm around Lynn Jennings. So, and there's a lot of love for you, Lynn, in the chat, which is just so awesome. As the youth would say, the chat is popping off. It is lit. Thank you all so much. So please keep it coming. It fills my heart. I really wish that I could be just looking at the chat. Oh, you cannot hear me. Oh, can you hear me now? Fangirl. Okay, that sounds like you can hear me. Excellent. So I am going to take a look at who's here. I see that Spellman is in the house. And so let's see who else is here. What states, what cities, what sororities and fraternities. This is great, you guys. Let's see. I know there's a big contingent here from Tennessee showing love. Our student performance is coming up with William Collins. And so I know that there's a whole host of folks here supporting him as well. Okay, Detroit, I see you. Texas, holding it down as always. Texas hype, that's right. Y'all make yourselves known, absolutely. California, thank you. Thank you, thank you. San Antonio, I fell in love with your city when I was there. In Baltimore, okay, AKAs, I see you. My people from Massachusetts, thank you so much for coming through. Yes, Kentucky, Michigan. You guys, this is really exciting. I just want you to take a second, if you're not staring at the chat like I am right now, to just, okay, Kappas, we see you. To just bask in the beauty that is us all being able to connect in this moment like this. We know that this has been a time of deep loss. And so we didn't feel that it would be correct necessarily to continue without acknowledging that there has been a lot of loss. And, I have felt that challenge directly in my family. At the beginning of the pandemic, my older sister, our trailblazer in our family, contracted the virus and was sick for a month and a half. She ended up in the hospital for one night, just one night. But we didn't know she was going to make it out the next day. And it was a very harrowing month and a half to not know how you can help, to not be able to hug your sibling, to hold her hand, to not be able to call when she was in the hospital. And so I'm naming that because 216,000 Americans have died of COVID-19. Each one of those lives impacted a family, a community, a workplace, and so much more. But beyond that, we know that the impact of COVID can be felt in so many ways. That my sister still has symptoms to this day that she is battling as a result of the disease, and so we want to honor that. As you can tell, I tend to kind of bring a lot of hype, a lot of joy, a lot of light into the spaces that I bring. But it's because I love life, and we have to embrace life in this moment. And so I am shouting y'all out. I'm excited to see you. I love the love that I see in the chat because it's a blessing that we're here. And so with that, I'm going to just guide us through a 10-second moment of reflection. When we're going to hold silence, I'm going to mute myself and just give some thought to those of us, just to this year, to our loved ones, to those of us who are no longer with us. And when we return from that moment of reflection, I could not be more excited to welcome William Collins, a junior from Fisk University, who's going to share with us just his gift, is what I'll say. So let's hold a moment of reflection. I know it's weird to say because I'm literally in my room staring at my computer screen and not 187 of you, but I really did feel your energy during that time. So thank you. And with that, William Collins is a junior at Fisk University, and he is an Empower Ed student fellow with the Education Trust in Tennessee. Thank you, William, for this gift that you are about to offer us. And thank you, big shout out to Vilmaris Gonzalez in Tennessee, who was able to introduce us to the wonderfulness that is William. So
greetings and most humble salutations. I am William Collins, a double political science pre-law and music with a concentration in voice major. I currently attend the illustrious Fisk University. I am a Fisk Jubilee singer, and I am an Empower Ed student fellow with the Education Trust, Tennessee. The work of Empower Ed Trust means to me that someone is actively listening to us. Someone is taking into account how we feel as young adults. Because we have a story that needs to be heard. And, sometimes we really just need to talk to someone. So Empower Ed Trust, providing that space is an amazing thing because we need it. Especially people of my skin complexion. Feel as though we don't matter. Feel as though our voices will never be heard. The song I chose, Deep River, caused me to have that breakdown moment where while singing, I couldn't finish the song because I was reminded of someone my family had lost, and I didn't want that pain. And having those words really feed into my soul, it was like, wow, this is what it means to me. Deep river, my home is over Jordan, deep river, Lord. I want to cross over into campground. Fisk University opened its doors in 1866, and the first group of Fisk Jubilee singers were able to go over to Europe, and they would sing and hopefully earn money for the university. And they had gone through so many different hardships. They were Black in the late 1800s, but they persevered anyway. So now it's like you're carrying on that legacy. It lets me know that I'm marching in someone else's shoes. Deep river, my home is over Jordan, deep river, Lord. I want to cross over into campground. What we see in today's racial and political climate is something that we can't be shielded from, and we have to find a way to deal with it, which is why our voice is so important, because we have to be able to talk about it to be able to move forward so things like that don't happen anymore. Because honestly, we're tired of feeling like we don't matter. To that gospel feast, that promised land, where all is peace. I want to cross over into campground. to all education advocates, I'm charging you with opening those doors. Keep listening to these stories. Keep holding spaces for students to share these stories, because we do need someone to talk to. To acknowledge our feelings and not do anything about it would be a shame. So I'm urging you all to continue to fight, to continue to stand up and raise up and show that you are in this for us and in this with us, because we need your help to create those opportunities.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Truly sitting here like Mariel. I know most of you don't know me, but I am a crybaby. And I'm like, you got makeup on, you got to talk to these people, hold your tears in. William, wow. What I felt in listening to your words, but also listening to your voice was our ancestors. And the fact that there is such a beautiful and deep reserve of strength within us. And that is the strength that we are tapping into right now, to get up in the mornings and to continue doing what we're doing from our different perch, from our different cities and states. And so thank you, William. I know that you're here. I know William's mom is also here. So thank you, Mama, for raising this beautiful child, man. And thank you, William, for sharing your gift with all of us again. Wow, just truly astounding. And as you heard from William, everybody, our youth need us to continue carrying the charge. We need to continue opening those doors, and we have to ensure that in our work, in whatever we do, we maintain the experiences and voices of our students and families at the center and in our hearts at all times. Thank you so much, William. So we are going to transition everybody to our opening plenary called Education, Equity, Advocacy in the COVID-19 Era, which will be moderated by Denise Fort. Before we do, though, I am excited to just preview the day and give you a sense of what's up ahead so that we can orient ourselves and then transition into the plenary. So let's check out our schedule for today. You have this in your agenda, but just so that you have a sense, we're going to transition to the plenary shortly, as I mentioned. We will have a breakout session. You guys, I'm so excited for you. It's going to be truly phenomenal. There's a lot of good stuff, a lot of great learnings to be had and shared. And then we're going to have an optional state time. And for those of you who are here with a state, there will be opportunities to join, get to know each other, maybe kind of like compare notes. Where did you go to the breakout? Where did you go? And maybe share a little bit about what's happening locally for you all. If you are here and you do not see your state represented, feel free to take this time as free time for yourself, or hang out with us here in the main stage. We can chat. And after, more excited to just kind of let our hair down a little bit, and have a happy hour, some trivia, just some laughs, and really get an opportunity to informally get to know each other as well. And then you can see tomorrow we have a really exciting packed agenda. And so we'll be starting at noon tomorrow. Please note that today we did start at 1. And we are sorry that the reminders from Hopin did cause a little bit of confusion. So yes, tomorrow at noon, we'll be right back here. And so now I am super excited to introduce Denise Fort. I am telling you guys, we are blessed at EdTrust with just some really phenomenal, powerful women. And so a little bit about Denise. So give me 1 second so that I can find, there we go. So Denise Fort is the Senior Vice President for Partnerships and Engagement at the Education Trust. With more than 2 decades of experience in the federal, legislative, and executive branches, advancing progressive education and family policy, she brings strategic leadership to our organization's efforts to engage policymakers and diverse coalitions of advocates in demanding and securing equity advancing policy change at the national and state levels. She also leads our legislative efforts, and as a member of the senior leadership team, she coordinates an organization-wide advocacy agenda and strategy. So she is clearly a boss with a capital B. But for me, she's kind of like Mama Bear. She's the fearless leader of our partnerships and engagement team and just keeps us going, keeps the spirit light, and tells us really enthralling tales about a hedgehog that lives in her backyard. So maybe we can convince her to share some stories with us today. So Denise, feel free to join me on the stage. Denise will then be able to introduce us to our really, really impressive panel, who will be able to shed light for us about the work that they have been doing in their communities to combat the negative impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic and persistent, enduring systemic racism. And so we are going to give Denise an opportunity to come backstage. Yes, Maida, please, everybody, everybody just, let's, I was gonna say, let's bully Denise into telling us the hedgehog story, but perhaps we should not. Let's encourage Denise to share the hedgehog story. So Denise, as soon as you find our stage, we'll be able to get started. So we're going to give her just a few seconds to come on. And in the meantime, I'm going to check out what is happening here in the chat. Oh, here she is. I see her bubble is popping up. Denise, we're super excited to hear from you. And I apologize if I have in any way made it so that you now have to tell this story.
Uh-oh.
All right,
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can't yet see you.
Yeah.
So as soon as you turn on your camera,
let me see what's going on here.
Wonderful. Well, you're getting a lot of love in the chat, Denise.
Awesome.
A lot of go, Denise, go. And blessed to have Denise as my boss. It's a love fest out here. Wonderful. All right, everybody. So give us a moment. It looks like Denise might be having a bit of a difficulty turning on her camera. So she just stepped off of the link and she'll be able to re-enter and hopefully not have any video issues. Keep the love coming. I'm going to just scroll back to see. Okay. Here she is. Yay.
Hello, everybody. How much do we love our virtual environment? I'm so thankful to Marielle for keeping it going and making sure that everybody knows all my little quirks. It's not a hedgehog, it's a groundhog. I love them.
It's a groundhog. Okay.
I also just recently, someone shared with me on Facebook, a Facebook page for Chuck the Groundhog. Everybody needs to go to it. It makes me smile every day. Much like being with you all. Thank you, thank you, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Denise.
Okay. Thanks so much, everybody, for joining us for our very first ever virtual boot camp. And also, from my heart, I have to thank William Collins and his beautiful mother for joining us, for the work they put into the opening. Everybody saw the chat. William, you are so powerful. You are leading the way. I can't wait to meet you in person, but I'm so glad that Team Tennessee welcomed you into the family. And we're really glad to have you to be a part of the Ed Trust family. So thank you for sharing your words of hope and for your strong leadership in Tennessee. We probably won't be able to say this enough, even though we feel it every day. But these last few months, and it seems like it's going on for a while now, incredibly challenging time for our nation, for our communities, because we've all suffered loss in so many different ways. And the change to our daily lives have come in so many different ways. The basics. How am I going to purchase food? How am I going to go out if I don't want to go out? If I feel a little afraid to go out? How am I going to travel to work for those essential workers? And what do I do about my kids if I'm at work? How to even leave the house? I mean, it's a whole new thing where we have a basket of masks that are right by our door, and we just pick up a mask and go. But all of these are daily changes to our day. And at the same time, we at Trust really believe it is important to acknowledge the wonders that we see on a regular basis from you all and your advocacy and your leadership when you are out there and with community and centering students and families in all that you do. So that's what we want to do today. We have some amazing speakers that I'm going to introduce in a little bit, but mostly we want to center students and families, appreciate the work, and make sure we are always looking forward. All of us know that at this time, more than 200,000 Americans have died of this virus. It is such a complex virus that sometimes I feel like it is targeting Black and brown people, because of long-standing health inequities in this country. And tens of millions of Americans have filed for unemployment during the pandemic. In terms of death and lost jobs, people of color are disproportionately impacted, and we are still very much in the thick of it. The continued reality of racism, anti-immigrant sentiments, anti-women sentiments, the legacy of more than 400 years of anti-Blackness in America, we are feeling this every day. The murders of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Rayshard Brooks, Ahmaud Arbery, say their names, and too many others have once again sent the message to our Black, beautiful children, their lives have been devalued. But over the last several months, at the same time, our nation, indeed the world, has seen the strength and message of Black Lives Matter. It has been led by young people who are saying no more and who are calling for change in their classrooms and community. We had one of those with us today in William. We also have leaders in the classroom and the community calling for change and instructing us on what we need to do to ensure a better, brighter, and more equitable future. So today, with your permission, we're going to hear from three people who are continuing the fight for educational equity during the COVID-19 era. We will hear from Lacey Robinson. Lacey, do you want to join? President and CEO of Unbounded. Unbound Ed is dedicated to empowering teachers, leaders to meet the challenges set by higher standards, unfinished instruction, and institutional racism. And those glasses are beyond fly. Thank you, Lacey. Thank you for shining with us. We will also hear from Dr. Gerald Gabot, founder and executive director at Immigrant Family Services Institute, IFSI. Dr. Gabot, can you join us? Here she is coming. Wonderful. You're outside breathing fresh air and also with a beautiful set of colorful glasses. I hope Dr. Sterling will show up similarly. Let me finish the introduction for Dr. Gabot, though. IFSI's mission is to expedite the successful integration of recent immigrants into the social and economic fabric of the United States with justice and dignity. Thank you for being here. And last but certainly not least, Dr. Nicholas Sterling, who is the superintendent, Valley Stream Union Free School District 30. I hope he will be joining me soon. This district encompasses an area of approximately 2 square miles and has a population of about 15,500 residents. However, he has also been featured in our podcast, one of my favorites, and everybody needs to check it out, Extraordinary Districts in Extraordinary Times, with the equally extraordinary Karen Chenoweth. Thank you for all sharing your time with us. I don't think Dr. Sterling has joined us yet. Very good.
Okay.
Right on time. Beautiful. Welcome, Dr. Sterling. Welcome to all of you. We are so pleased that you're here with us.
A pleasure to be here.
Great. Let me just get it started right now because we want to hear from you. Ms. Robinson, during a time when so many students have experienced interrupted learning, how is Unbound to Ed supporting educators to build authentic relationships with students?
Thank you, Denise, for that wonderful introduction. And I'm so excited to be on this panel and was so energized by the introduction. I can answer that by simply saying that we have remained on the road that we were on prior to COVID. At our organization, we are centered in what we call the intersection. And that is where aligned curriculum, pedagogical content knowledge, and equity with a big E. And we say equity with a big E because it is focused on racialized inequities and how to eradicate those. We double down on how we can find the justice in the details of teaching and learning. And so this summer we hosted several summits where we invited close to 4,000 to 5,000 of our educational friends to come and dig down with us into actualizing the justice in the details of teaching and learning. And so I answer that simply by saying, as my grandmother used to say to us all the time, we kept on keeping on in our message because we know now, particularly with everything that is going on, it's even more important. Oh, I think you're on mute.
Months into this and I'm still on mute. At least one meet, more than one day. Denise, you're on mute. So thank you. Quick follow-up on that. How can advocates begin supporting educators who have been disproportionately impacted from COVID-19?
You know, I think that's such an important question. I was on with a system leader yesterday who described to me 2 local advocacy groups that have taken particular attention to their system and their schools. And so what I want to say to advocates is show up where you haven't shown up before. Because trust me, we were trying to figure out the inadequacies prior to COVID. And with COVID and the racial unrest, the combination of, I would say, all of our crisis that's going on, we have been trying to not only figure out the solutions, but we've been calling for help for others. So I want to press advocates, go to places you haven't been before. Go to your local systems. Ask your local systems, how can we support? Really quick, this one school leader said to me that one of the local advocacy groups simply asked the question, what are the students currently supposed to be learning? And that question broke open wide areas where that local advocacy group could support, finding ways of bringing parents in, and most importantly, what I'm now calling a real crisis, finding those lost children. If you have children that haven't shown up in your system, I'm gonna really put on Front Street right now that they were probably there in body and not in spirit before. And so you all need to double down as a community, work with the advocates, work with your local folks, and find those children. They haven't gone anywhere. They want to know if they're still counted.
Amen. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. That is so right. And we should talk about that a little bit more over the next 2 days. Dr. Capo, I have a question for you.
All right.
You are deeply embedded in your community. Can you talk about the work that you all are doing and perhaps give additional guidance to other community-based organizations on how they can be partners to school systems when the school buildings are closed and just overall during this time, and maybe even talking to Ms. Robinson's point, let's find our children.
Yes, definitely, I agree. We need to find them, and there should be no excuse whatsoever for any, district leader or school leader to say that they cannot find our students. They are members of our community. They live somewhere, and there is someone who is connected to them. So I always said, wherever there is a will, there is also the power to achieve what we want to achieve. And to me, it's not acceptable for any leader to tell me that they cannot find the students unless they send them to a different planet. As long as they are here, this is our duty to find them. And at IFC, one thing that we said is, after going through meetings after meetings, we realized the same song was being repeated. Oh, it is very challenging. Yes, it's difficult. Yes, I heard so many excuses to, stop, serving our students. And here at IFC, we said, no matter what, we take the no matter what concept and we transform it into a real machine so that we can serve our students. We said, we know that this is the most difficult time is for our students because they are not in the classroom. Parents do not know anything about technology for most of them. Some of them do not have access to internet. Others do not have even a housing situation where it's comfortable to go and learn. So when we know what we know and we said, what are we going to do? Are we going to just, give up on them and say, you know what? It's hard, it's difficult, and we cannot do anything? Or are we going to do whatever it takes to make sure that we provide to them? And what we did, we used the concept of the village model, where we made phone calls to whoever is around us in terms of partner. We made phone calls to colleges, universities, private independent schools, Catholic schools. We made phone calls to young professionals, wherever they are, and we said to them, give us 2 hours of your day. Give us an hour. Give us a day every week. Whatever you can give us, we will take it because we are on a duty. The duty is for us to reach out to our students and to serve them. So what we've done, we bring together an army of volunteers, over 150 volunteers. Just think about it. One organization was able to bring over 150 volunteers to come and work with our students. And that work entails calling parents, helping them understand how to go to the Google Classroom, how to get on Zoom, bring laptops, bring tablets to them wherever they are. So we as an organization, we are able to go, send people to bring laptop, bring tablet, deliver them hand by hand, and show them. We create little posters, show them how to access, Zoom if they could not do that, just to make sure that they have access to quality education. And that's what I'm saying. I said to all my leaders who say that they care about our students, that they need to do whatever it takes to find them, to nurture them, to teach them, and to prepare them for the future. Because my work is about the future. I am looking at my community 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, and my question is, what have we done to prepare the next generation? And that's where we are, and I think that's where we all need to come at the table to make sure that we prepare our future.
No matter what, and whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes, no matter what. We do not stop. No excuse. It's hard, but we can make it happen.
And I think you have a partner in Dr. Sterling who is thinking the exact same thing. Dr. Sterling, thanks again for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you.
We understand that education leaders like yourself are making adjustments, big and small, and even having to discover new ways that are working, new things that are working well for students, schools, in your community. How did you begin preparing for the school year? And I know you did it like the moment schools closed, you had to start thinking about it, but what went into your thinking there to make sure that we were doing no matter what and whatever it takes, like Dr. Depot said?
Well, I had to take a deep breath and literally change mindset, because sameness was not going to work in this new normal, and equity had to be at the forefront. So that meant that I had to get used to the fact that change was going to come very quickly. I had to be able to respond, be responsive to new mandates coming down, changes in guidelines, and not worry about having enough lead time, because there was not going to be much lead time given to anyone. So with that said, it was very clear that we needed to really think about our toolkit that as an administrator that we've had for many years, and realize that that toolkit might not be sufficient, seeing that we were creating a new educational environment for all. But I believe in Valley Stream 30, the collaborative team approach was central to our successful opening, because it included a variety of constituencies within our community. And the planning for the new school year actually took place prior to schools closing, because we took the initiative to make sure that all of our children went on summer vacation with a digital device so that they could have summer learning, coupled with thinking outside the box and making sure that we could continue to have summer school for our most vulnerable students. That was also put in place for our special education students, as well as specific general education students. A vulnerable group, when you think about it, was our kindergartners, the one group that never had any opportunity to do any kind of online learning. So we took the initiative to make sure that we had kindergarten orientation over the summer, live in person, following all health protocols, making sure that they got their devices, and had workshops for parents to prepare them for the opening in September. Child care services for the first responders, providing summer meals, providing meals during the school year when kids are actually at home, meetings with our unions, meeting with our Board of Education. Consultation with the Department of Health was huge. Consultation with regional superintendents were huge, because we were all in the same boat, trying to figure out how to open school in a way that we'd never done before. Central to our success was the creating of our reentry task force that was made up of administrators, teachers, parents, and students. And that team really focused on health and safety first and foremost. Then at the second level would have been our social and emotional learning activities that we were going to put in place the first few weeks in school, so that we could get a good start and obviously make sure that everyone felt comfortable. And then lastly, it was the academics that we focused on in terms of our planning. We also had to make sure that accommodations, be it health or safety or instructional, was addressed, and we planned all of that before school opening. Parents, from an equity lens, the whole issue of choice was significant in terms of making sure that parents, depending on what your educational philosophy was, how you felt about your child being back in school, we needed to have levels of choices for our parents, which we did, be it be in school on a hybrid model or be home virtually. And parents did have those choices, which required us, again, to do multiple meetings with parents and community members, staff, to make sure that everyone understood what would be expected in the new school year. And lastly, what was critical to our reopening was the continual communication that was done in a variety of formats, be it email, phone calls, letters, videos, texts, and also keeping in mind those families that were not having English as a first language.
Those are all clearly examples of no matter what it takes. I really appreciate those. We are moving to wrap up, but I do want to give each of you an opportunity to share with us what's the one thing that makes you feel good right now, and what's the thing that still keeps you up that you think advocates should be pushing forward. Ms. Robinson, I'm gonna have you go first.
Thank you. I have to tell you that holding on to hope has been an exercise I practice every day. And my hope always comes from the collective educator community, because despite all the things that are happening in their homes, their battle with COVID, their battle with racial inequity, their battle with economical inequity. They are still striving to show up for the students every day as best as they can, moving through a digital age that, let's be real, none of us were fully prepared for. So that's what brings me hope, is that they show up and they keep asking, how can we make this better? I'm going to tell you the thing that keeps me up at night, and it was something that was put in the chat. You know, I come to these panels, we have these discussions, and someone asks, you know, we're singing to the choir. How do we get to the folks that are standing in the background and not singing? I cannot emphasize this more. We got to collectively get together. We have to make decisions in our individual communities about the policies, practices, and procedures that are local and that then are national. And yes, I'm going there. We have to exercise the right to vote, not just for the president, but your local leaders. We have to educate one another, and we have to force our local leaders to look at what's actually happening in the educational landscape. Because like it was mentioned before, this is the community that will be carrying, these are the children that will be carrying the community in the next 5 to 10 years. So let's don't stand by and talk about the gaps that are going to happen. Let's ask ourselves collectively how we can get together and move as one force to ensure that those gaps are then closed and then eliminated.
Thank you. Dr. Gabot, what's making you happy and what's keeping you up?
All right. For me is the opportunity that comes with the challenges that we are facing right now. So think about it. You know, in 2020, most of our students who are immigrant students did not have access to technology. And we know that technology is the way forward. So COVID-19, in a way, forced so many of them to start learning about, technology to get access. To me, being able to see a family who does not even know how to write his own name, bring a child to Zoom so that the child can have access, to me, it's a great story of success. It means that parents who never had access to technology are learning how to take advantage of it. And I think we need to do more of it, because to me, it's an opportunity to serve more students and to also give access to more families. What's kept me awake at night is the lack of intentionality. So I am at all the tables and I talk to all leaders about that. It's one thing to say that you are with me, that you are for my student, that you're fighting for them. And it's another thing for me to see action. So what keeps me awake is there is a lot of talk with little action. And for me, it's time for us to come and demand action. I don't want to hear your nice, I understand you, I empathize with you, and I don't want to hear those things. I want to hear, this is what I'm going to do to make sure all my students are getting the proper education that they need for a stronger and brighter future. I'm a futurist, and whatever I do, I'm putting that lens of the future. I need to know when I'm living right now, because guess what? We are no longer young. I'm 25 still, I'm going to remain 25 no matter what. But I need to know that when I leave, that my children are going to replace me. And all of us, we need to be talking about next generation. And for them to replace me, they need to be prepared. And a great education is the way to go for them. So that's what I keep me awake. We need to be intentional to really do, again, whatever it takes, no matter what, to prepare our next generation.
Thank you, Dr. Gabot. Dr. Sterling, you're in the thick of it. You're in the classroom, or maybe not, I don't know right now, but you are with your students, and students are your everyday.
With 6 feet social distancing.
With 6 feet social distancing, like what is making you happy and what still keeps you up and how we can help you towards the future?
Well, I too am hopeful, and I believe that this pandemic has actually forced the world to really take a second look at the role of education and the importance of teaching and the challenges educators face every day, and of course, the inequities that currently exist. So I am hopeful that the light is shining on this issue even more brightly. What keeps me up at night probably is the concern that people across this country will really understand what we the people mean. And quite frankly, I too believe that education equity is on the ballot in this upcoming election because it's tied to healthcare, it's tied to jobs, and it's tied to an array of social issues. And I believe that the early voting is showing that more voices will be heard regarding our future. So, I like to bring it all back to hope. We have to have hope for our children and for our future.
Thank you all so much. This has been an amazing session for me personally. We are at EdTrust are with you. We want to be a resource to you. And I've just so enjoyed that I'm privileged to have spent this time with you. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm going to turn it back over to Marielle, who should be coming on soon. And I think we are going to be encouraging folks. And it's my fault, all you wonderful presenters. Get ready. Here they come. Marielle?
Thank you so much. Man, this is one of those moments when I really shouldn't be alone here because I was just like screaming in my seat and just so fired up and honestly moved to action, moved to come together. So deep thanks go out to Denise, of course, to Dr. Gerald Gabot, to Lacey Robinson, and to Dr. Nicholas Sterling. I am just, what I'm taking away is frankly, I shared this in the chat briefly, but I really see our community of advocates as where I come to get water, right? Where I come to get fed, where I come to ensure that my spirit can be held together. And just to continue being really honest with y'all, like there are mornings I can't get out of bed. There are mornings that are incredibly challenging to carry out the work. And so we come together so that we can continue fortifying our internal strength and so that we can strengthen our minds, our hearts, and our spirits. And I think we heard that loud and clear from all three panelists, the absolute need to get organized and to come together. I am a community organizer and we got to rally people, right? We got to build their capacity. We got to build their leadership and their ability to stay in it because it is incredibly tough work. So thank you again for the opening plenary. I absolutely feel like you guys have set us up with a lot of to think about and hold on to as we move through the day. So at this time, we are at 2:05. So we're doing well. We're just about 1 minute behind. So at this time, I want to invite our participants to transition to the reception area. Again, it is located on the left-hand side of your computer screen. Our sessions will begin as soon as you go there and will be followed by state time at 2:55 p.m. There will be more instructions in your individual sessions, so look out for that. And finally, please don't forget to join me back in the main stage, which is right here, for an EdTrust happy hour and trivia event. We will then actually have a link that will take us to a Zoom. And so look out for that. I'll repeat that a little bit later on. If you cannot make it to the happy hour trivia extravaganza, we will definitely miss you. Just please remember that our day tomorrow starts at noon. So I hope to see you in a few hours, and I hope you all have really engaging sessions coming up next. All right, everybody. See you soon.